Hello, good evening. You're joining us here for another Tuesday night felting. I'm trying not to shake it too much. Okay, so it's just 6 o'clock here on my end. There's a little delay, so I always like to share the event or share the actual video link to the event that I make for this, just to make sure everybody can find it. So I'm gonna do that now on the computer and then get the video up so I can see your comments. Because a lot of times, well, anymore, it's hard to see the comments on my phone. Okay, let's try this. Okay, so I think I have the video up. I can see the comments. Okay, we're looking pretty good. So thanks for joining me tonight. We'll get started actually felting here in another minute or two. And I am going to be showing you some Easter eggs. Well, probably just one Easter egg because they do take a while to felt. So I've got some core wool sitting here ready to go. Got a whole ball of it. So we're going to be using that for the middle of our egg. And then I just grabbed like a literal rainbow of colors, not that they're in a rainbow assorted order, but a bunch of different colors to add some designs and decoration to the Easter egg. I think this would be a really fun project to do with your kids, grandkids, other kids you have in your life, or like as gifts for those kids. I know people are shifting more and more to more sustainable and, less plastic type stuff, so replacing, your plastic Easter eggs with something like felted Easter eggs would be fun, for Easter egg hunts and whatnot too, if you did, a smaller version. I know we always had a little bit of something that we did in the house when I was younger. So I thought it'd be a fun little thing to do. I've seen lots of other felters do Easter eggs and similar projects, so I've been wanting to do some for myself. So I've got a little dog here that's wanting all of my attention tonight. He says hi and goodbye. Okay, so besides we got some core wool and a bunch of little bits of different colors of wool, I've got my felting mat, my felting needles, my multi-needle tools that you see me use all the time. If you have any questions while we are felting tonight, feel free to comment on the video. Comment and say hello. Let me know how you're doing today. What projects are you working on? Always like to see your projects and talk about your projects with you. Okay, so let's get the camera turned down and we'll start felting today. I've rearranged my room here, so a little bit different view. Alright, so here's my felting mat, and got my mouse and my computer ready so I can see your comments. Alright. I always have to rearrange my felting needles because I don't have them quite exactly where they need to be, but generally I always keep them, on the top of my felting mat. Alright, so I've got my core wool here. And, an Easter egg, the shape is fairly basic. Just making an egg shape. The most important thing when you start making any shape is to roll your core wool up nice and tight. So I use a lot of downward force while I'm rolling up my wool, so it rolls as tightly as possible. You just want as tight of a shape as possible, and that will help you later. You'll have to do less felting. To make like the egg shape, you don't necessarily have to worry too much about how your shape is forming out right away. Generally your ends, on the ends are going to not be as dense as the middle anyway, so that'll help make your more oval shape. Now it just depends on how big you want your egg to be. I'm just going to tack down the ends, the end of my roving here. I'm going to make this a little bigger. And if you're not sure like what size you want, you know, always start out smaller. You can always add wool. Okay, so I got a nice little chunk of wool here. I'm going to just kind of tack down the wool all over this first. This would be a really good project to do as a beginner, because you can really kind of play with a basic shape and then add some decoration to it. So you get a little bit of, you know, 3D work, and then you almost practice some 2D work, adding whatever decorations you want to the egg. So this is the longest process, the most boring process, is making the basic shape. I usually take just my single needle and kind of tack down all the fluffy stuff, the really fluffy stuff all over first. And then I switch to my multi-needle tools, which speeds it up quite a bit. But it's still a process. And the egg shape does kind of naturally take from just rolling up your wool. But just remember, wherever you push your felting needles into, that's the direction you push, that's where the wool is going to go. All right, I'm still kind of lumpy bumpy here, but this tool here, will really smooth that out. So this one I now have 640 spiral needles in this one. And this one is the one I use to smooth out the surface. And I really haven't even done that much felting, mostly thank you to rolling up my wool really tightly when I first started. And this is like just about the size of like one of the Easter eggs that you would see, like a plastic one. A little bit bigger than a real egg. This would be like a super jumbo. It's been very interesting. Our chickens have been going through some fits lately. And they kind of decided to quit laying, which is unusual for my chickens, but they missed like a day of feed, which is totally my fault. But that's not good for your laying chickens to miss out on their feed. So I pretty much screwed them all up, and they're slowly starting to come back, but I'm still not getting as many as I was before. But anyways, so twice now, I've gotten these eggs that are like this size or bigger, and that's a really big size of an egg. And the first one was kind of like flexible, which every once in a while you get like almost like a jello egg that didn't form quite right. And it's like threw it on the ground because you can't do anything with that. And I didn't really pay attention, and I was walking back by it, and there was an egg laying there, like a normal egg. Well, there was an egg within an egg. Like a normal egg within this giant egg. And then I got another one the other day, but this time the outside was hard. It wasn't like jello. And there was another egg inside, like a fully formed egg, plus another yolk. It's the most bizarre thing. But this large egg right here made me think of it. So one of the topics that I see being talked about a lot with needle felting is how to get your projects really smooth. So one big factor in that is the type of wool. Some wool just isn't going to get as smooth as others, in my opinion. And you really have to kind of just play around with the wool and see. I mean, if you're like me, I don't care so much about it being like the really smoothest thing you've ever seen. If you notice, a lot of my projects, they're still fuzzy, even though they have, details. They're still fuzzy. Like here's my owl, but you can see like a little fuzzy, at least I can see that there's fuzziness to it, but it's wool. And you know, there's ways to, you know, make a smooth surface, but smooth versus a little fuzzy are two different things as well. The best way to get a smoother surface is to use your spiral needles and go up to like a 40 spiral, and that's what I use. And the multi-needle tools do make a huge difference in making my project smooth. The other thing you can do is you felt at an angle. So instead of straight down into your project, you felt like this. And the more at an angle, the smoother it will felt. And you have to felt, you know, from all angles, which is a really long and tedious process. But those are just some little tips and things about smoother surface. Okay, now when you're making your eggs, like if you want to like display it, you might want to think about how you shape your egg, because then you might want to like make one end a little flat so it will sit up. But if it's just going to be, you know, like used as an Easter egg or something like that, you can just make a nice round egg shape. Or if you set it in something, it doesn't, you know, matter as much. Okay, we're getting a fairly nice, fairly smooth shape. For the sake of our time, we're gonna go with our little egg as it is. But I need to make the top a little bit, so eggs have like a skinnier, or not skinnier, but one end is a little bit like smaller, more narrow than the other. And they are supposed to be like that. They're not supposed to be symmetrical. So I'm just felting this end a little more to make it a little bit narrower. Okay, now time for decoration. So this is where you really can use, excuse me, your imagination, and do whatever you want. I want to throw in some grass along the bottom here, and I want to use a green. This is like a little bright. Whoop. Whoopsies. I'm going to dig out my greens. I'm proud of myself. I organized all of my wool. The wool I use like for felting projects, I organized. Ooh, this is the one I want. That one. It's a little bit paler green. this green. I think I'm going to cover like the bottom of this egg in this green and then go from there. When you add color, you always start with a little, or it's better to start with a little at a time. My wool was all mixed up, so like all the colors have bits of other colors in them. So I have to pull out some fibers. Just going around the base of my egg here, all the way around. And you could just do like stripes on them, or you can get, you know, fancy with some fancier designs, which I'll get into a little bit here. Add in some flowers and different things. This would be really fun for kids, I think, especially if you like made the eggs, like the base of the egg before and then let them decorate the rest of it. I think that'd be fun. Now you have to be careful because, you know, felting needles are dangerous, but it would be a fun project. So I've got a little bit of my green down there. And then I'm going to take this blue, and I have a little bit of white over here. I'm going to blend this blue and white together so it's a little bit, so it's not as bright. Since I went with this like paler pastel green. And I'm just going to put a little bit of this bluish color here. Hi, Marianne. She says these would look great as an accompaniment. I can't even say it to Henrietta. Yes, they would. I'll have to grab her here in a little bit. Yes, and I was thinking that you could do some detail work like that, like I did in the chicken. If you saw my chicken. So I'm going to focus just on this one side for right now. But there's like a little bit of the blue and white. How's the weather? Today is quite nippy. It's very windy and is making drifts of our lovely snow that just keeps coming. Though we're supposed to have mostly 40-degree weather in the next week, which is going to make for a lot of water and mud, and I'm not looking forward to it, but I also like the warmer temperatures, so. Alright. So I did a little bit of that, and now I'm going to take, if I can grab it, I've got a little bit of a darker green here. I'm going to do kind of some grasses. So I need my spiral needle because I'm doing detail work. I'm going to take small strips of green and kind of tack down one end here at the bottom of the egg. And then I guide with my other hand where I want it to go. And this is the technique I use to make fine lines. It gets kind of tricky sometimes when it's hard to hold your project and guide the wool and felt at the same time. That does get kind of tricky, especially when you're working on funny shape projects. Whoop, I'm sorry, buddy. I almost ran over the dog. Here, I'm grabbing the little chicken here. So, dude, careful. The dog's getting antsy again. So all of the lines, the line detail, this is how I do that. Like on the chicken here. It's very slow work. But for some reason, this really relaxes me. So tack down one end, and then even if you like twist it, that'll make it a little bit finer. And then you kind of just guide it where you want it to go. And when you're doing organic things, like organic substances like grass, I'm talking about like life-like stuff, you want them to bend and have some movement. No, he's good. Sorry for the barking dog. They really don't like it when I do these things. Get off of me right now. If you guys could watch me and the screen as I'm felting, probably be very comical with these dogs of mine. They think this is the worst time I could possibly be doing something like this, because they should be getting fed. And let me tell you what, border collies are very needy. The healer and the Aussie could care absolutely less. But the border collies, they have a schedule and they want to stay on their schedule, and you shouldn't be doing this at this time. They don't understand it yet. So I'm just making like some wispy grasses, some taller ones, some shorter ones. Take a little bit of this color and add a little bit more to it at the bottom here. Now we're like layering these greens. I've been noticing as I do finer work, I've been cutting the wool more because sometimes the long fibers are just really hard to work with. Now I'm going to grab another green, a little bit darker. Give it some depth in different colors. So we've got some different grasses here. Now you can keep going, you can add more. The more you add, the more depth it gives it. So now I need to add some little flowers. So I've got some yellow. Now there's a couple ways you can do flowers. A couple ways. Depends how detailed you want to get. This one will add some petals to here. Oh, we're going to go with a purple. I'll brighten things up. So I'm working with just little bits of wool here. And this one I'm making like individual petals for. I'll show you another way I like to do flowers here in a moment. Bring it down a little bit. Keep it closer unless it starts to, sometimes it wants to get out of focus a lot when I bring it closer. Hi Dana, thank you. I've been really enjoying just kind of playing the last few days and just felting whatever I kind of want to. I haven't done that in a while. And now I've been every night, me and my husband, we sit down every night, and after we eat our dinner, we generally just kind of sit and relax and watch our TV shows and whatnot for an hour or two, and that's what we like to do. I usually knit or something, but I don't have any, well, I have a pair of socks that I'm knitting right now, but I've been working on them for like almost a year, and I can't like see the tiny needles anymore. I don't know, I just, over the summer and everything, I think I worked my eyes a little bit harder than I used to. So my sock knitting days are very numbered because I don't enjoy it anymore. But anyways, that's the only project I have on the needles right now, and I'm trying to spin my yarn, so I've been working on that slowly. But I've been taking my felting with me, which I haven't done in a long time. Just taking my felting out for the night. So there's a little flower. I made individual petals. Now another way you can do it. Let's see, what color should I do? I've got reds, red, pinks. I've got some orange. What color of flowers do you want to see? What color? I'm going to do a red one, but you guys choose another color. I'm going to grab some red. So another way to do flowers that's kind of fairly simple. Just take a little bit of wool. I've got a little bit of red here. Just going to pick a spot to put it. And tag it down in the middle. And kind of just move the wool around. It's not going to have an exact shape to it. Just something kind of roundish and like that. And then we can add a yellow center if you so choose. Ooh, Mary Ann, the deep freeze. Oh, I am gonna dye more of that. I just got back my first BFL wool, the BFL Cross, BFL Dorset from Xylingers. So I'm going to be dyeing that. I have a bag of that, and I have more Romney Cross. So I'm going to be dyeing more, and I definitely am going to be dyeing more of the deep freeze because that was like one of my favorite colorways. Hi. No, you go lay down. Go lay down. Go. Go on. Okay, I got some orange. let's see what we want to do for this one. So I'm going to do a flower that's more like pointed upwards. So we're not going to see so much the inside of it. Like that. Can even come in with some green here. And I can make little leaves around it. This dark green looks so dark on the screen here. There's a little leaf. More leaves. Right, where's my pink? Here's some pink. A little pink flower. So what flowers do you like better? Do you like the simple ones? Or do you like the ones with the individual petals? This one I have a little brown for the center. And I left this one almost a little fluffy, so it's like it sticks out a little bit from the egg. But there's some different flowers. You can add more, you can go back, and my egg keeps rolling. You can add more grasses if you want. If you want to give it more depth, you know, add a little bit of grass in front of some of the flowers. So that's kind of something simple that you can do. Now we've got this side here. So I'm going to go to my, well, you know what? Here, I want to use this green. It's a little bit brighter. It stands out quite a bit. So I'm going to go along the edge, kind of where the side we just did kind of ends. And we'll do some of my little fancy needlework here. Now I can go back and add some more little swirls here. And this is just so relaxing for me. Now if you get to like an end there and you still have a lot of like wool left, you can either cut it or you can kind of pull the fibers out and apart from each other. Depending on the type of wool you're using, you can do that sometimes, or you just have to cut it. I have different wools that I use, and some I can, some I can't. Just kind of depends. Or you can start at the end and work your way back. So I'll go back and add more of these. But since we're getting close to 7 here, I'm going to add some other little color details. So like I did on my little chicken here, I use mostly little dots of other color as decoration. And one thing that I was taught quite a long time ago is that for art, things should be like your count should be always odd, not even. So I did a lot of groups of 3 or just like 1. Just little tiny circles. Or just like 1. You could throw in some little flowers here and there. Whatever kind you want to do. Another thing you can add, and what I used to do a lot, was the vines, and then I go back and add leaves. Now I like to pull out different colors. So I've got a dark green again. Really dark green. So there's some different ideas for you. But you can do so many things with these little Easter eggs. I just think it'd be so much fun. So there's a little Easter egg. So I hope you guys can make some Easter eggs and share with us your different creations. Send me a message. Show me what you're doing. I love to see everything. If you have any questions or anything, you can message me and comment here on the video. But thank you for joining me again tonight. We will have another felting night on next Tuesday. So if you have any requests, any techniques, anything you'd like to see, please let me know. But until then, happy felting. We'll see you again soon.